Sunday of Advent thought or celebration, whatever you want to call it. And Advent is celebrated as a time of inner preparation. It's been centuries old. Some of you who were raised Catholic could probably tell me a lot more about it, but I know it is a time each year of preparing us, the inner part of us, in preparation to celebrate the birth of the Christ child, or of Jesus. And so this particular Advent Sunday is about finding our inner peace. Start with a story that appeared in the Rocky Mountain News. The story goes like this. A man was pushing a cart down a supermarket aisle when he passed a woman whose cart carried a 4-year-old little girl. As he walked by, he heard the mother gently say, "Take it easy, Natasha. It won't be long. We only have 3 more items to buy." And so a few minutes later, he passed the same woman in another aisle. And as the little girl looked at the items on the shelves, the mother crooned again in a soothing voice, "It's okay, Natasha. We're almost finished. Nothing to get upset about. My Tasha dear, we'll be outside in no time." So when the man reached the checkout counter, the woman was paying for her groceries, and he said, "Excuse me, I'd like to compliment you on the way you kept your daughter calm while you were doing your shopping. I overheard some of the soothing things that you were saying to Natasha here to keep her from getting upset." The woman looked puzzled for a few seconds, and then she said, "Oh, you got it all wrong. I'm Natasha. My daughter's name is Kate." Supposedly that's a true story. I don't know, but I thought it was perfect for what we're going to be talking about here today, because Natasha was creating peace within herself at that moment. And if any of you hate grocery shopping like I do, you know exactly why she was doing it. But the gentleman thought all this was for the little girl. But another part of that is, and we're going to make a point of this in the talk, is that in that story, if you're listening closely, you hear that the little girl was peaceful too. She was not saying she wanted anything. She was just sitting quietly in her cart. And so the mother's peace, the peacefulness of the mother, was transmitted to the child. And so it's important that we remember that we do affect those around us as well as ourselves. Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, said, "Words are the most powerful agents of our mind. Every time we speak, we cause the atoms of the body to tremble and change their places. Not only do we cause the atoms of our own body to change their position, but we raise or lower the rate of vibration and otherwise affect the bodies of others with whom we come in contact." But we don't think about that very often. But as I read those words, and I've probably read those words before because it's Charles Fillmore. I had to study everything you ever wrote when I was in school. But when I read those words this time, I felt a sense of responsibility like I never had before. That I'm responsible, of course, for how I feel and my own feelings and my own actions and reactions. But I don't always remember that my energy and my vibrations can change other people's. And so it really, I sat with that for a while, that my actions, my vibrations affect other people, and that I need to be aware of that. I need to be conscious of that. So I just want to make that point, because I don't think we always realize that our own angst or our own joy or whatever feelings we're feeling are affecting the vibrations, not only of us, but of those around us. I've always thought, not always, but when I'm thinking, I do my best to remember that my words can be counterproductive to me, and that my words can be negative energy in my own quantum field. But I don't think nearly enough about how that affects someone else. So I really pondered and meditated on this week so that I can really learn to stop and think more about how I cause and what I cause around me. As I did that this week, it was a heavy responsibility. I mean, it really was, to just be thinking about that and paying attention to how I was affecting that which was around me. I have made a commitment that I want to live in that awareness and to remember how my words and my thoughts radiate vibrations of whatever, peace or positive or negative. And so what do I want to do? What do I want to do influence with? How do I want to radiate my vibrations out into this quantum field for others as well as myself? And it made me think of I know you all probably remember the t-shirts, they wore them for years, that had Mahatma Gandhi on the t-shirt, and it said, "We have to be the peace we wish to see." If we want to see peace in the world, we have to be that. We can't expect other people to do it. We have to be it. Have to be peaceful inside of me. You have to be peaceful inside of you. If we want the atmosphere and what is going on around us to be peaceful, it starts with us. It irradiates from inside of us out. And that's why I thought that little girl was so peaceful, because her mother was radiating out peace. Because kids in the grocery store carts are always screaming they want something, they need something, they gotta have that particular thing that's on the shelf. So we want to remember who we are and how we affect not only ourselves, but those around us. I cannot wait for it to show up from other people. It's one of my notes that I wrote down this week. I can't wait for other people to get peaceful. I can't wait to see the things I don't like going on in our country for somebody else to fix that. I can radiate out my own peace and have an effect. So we don't have to wait for everybody else. And we sure don't have to wait for anybody else to affect our own peace of mind. Our own peace of mind is fully our responsibility. We kind of talked about that last week. We talked about personal responsibility last week for whatever's going wrong in our life and how we can choose to deal with it. We don't choose necessarily what happens in our life. We do get to choose how we deal with it. Being the magnet that we are, we can draw to us whatever it is we're showing up as. Not what we want somebody else around us to be. You ever do that? You wish everybody else around you would change? Well, it's probably likely not going to happen until you change. But how do we do that? It takes that awareness, it takes that mindfulness. But how does it become seated in our psyche? And in Paul's letter to the Philippians, he signed that letter to the Philippians. And they were all thrown in jail and they were all being killed because they were going to these other islands to tell people about Jesus, people who didn't want to hear about it. And so they were doing what they felt to be God's word, but they were in great danger. But he signed that letter, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in love. Will guard your hearts and your minds in love. So, to let our heart be our guide is to let love be our guide. Your heart is where love resides. That part of us that we don't even doctors don't understand about what our heart is and does. This is, that's every symbol that we know, intellectually and intuitively, every symbol about the heart is in the shape of a love heart. So to guard our heart is to allow the love in, to let love be our guide, because our heart is where that love resides. And as you know, Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, says that love is the only thing that heals. Love is the only healing, harmonizing energy on the planet. And so whatever we do for others, we will do for ourselves, and vice versa. To love ourselves enough that we can radiate love out to others, and to know that love is the solution to every problem. I want to say that again. Love is a solution to every problem. I don't see many of us solving any problems with love. I mean, nationwide. We haven't chosen that as a way to solve our problems. And the hardest part about love, which is probably why it's hard for us to do, is learning to love with no strings attached. That's what love is. Anything that has strings attached is not love, it's something else. So we love unconditionally. Unconditionally it's only unconditional if you don't have any strings attached to it. And that's the hardest part. But it's one of the reasons people come to church. It's, I think, one of the reasons one of the reasons church exists is to remind us who we are. We are created in love. We have the option to have love. We have the ability to learn that love heals, and sometimes we forget it. But when we come to church, hopefully, we get a reminder that's who we were created to be, and that's how we are to show up in the world, and how we are to survive. It's so easy to look around and blame other people for our discontent. And honestly, we humans are good at that. When we blame others for our discontent, we're not taking personal responsibility. We are playing the victim card. And there are no victims. As a child, you could be a victim. As someone who couldn't take care of themselves, you may be able to be a victim. But typically, we have personal responsibility. And like I said last week, whatever the problem, we are the solution. We're the ones who are to take charge and responsibility for our own lives. So we need to let go of the blame game. And we've seen a lot of that lately in our society. And I think there's a reason for it. We've been isolated for 2 years. We've lived lives for the last 2 years that in this lifetime, most of us have never had to experience. Closest I ever came to experience it was when I was a little child. And I experienced the pandemic of polio. And we were isolated, and scared then too, because nobody knew what it caused. I see some of you nodding your heads, you remember that. But those pandemics don't come along very often. But this one's been wretched on all our lives. We've lost loved ones. We've been isolated. We can't be social like we're accustomed to. For 2 years, we have not lived in what we know in our generation to be a normal existence. And being isolated in society will make us all crazy and grumpy, because humans are not meant to be isolated. Humans are not meant to be alone. And that's what we've had to do for quite a while now. It's been tough. And some of us haven't done it very well, which is okay. That just means we're normal. But there is a better way. Being unhappy and being social creatures, we feel the losses deeply, and the other thing about this, what we're going through, is nobody's really sure what lies ahead. We're not like seeing any light at the end of this tunnel, and we're all getting pretty tired of that. And that steals our peace as well, the not knowing, because we humans also love to know. We love to know what's going on and not be surprised. But how we have reacted as a society truly has been that we've looked out here somewhere to find blame, but also we've looked out here for someone else to fix it. And then we've been very frustrated when out here it didn't get fixed. So we have to look at that, and we go back to, it's not out here, it's in here. The mother talking to herself, telling herself to be calm, was amazing that she did it, but she had the right idea. She couldn't blame the grocery lines or anything else that was going on. It's one of the key ways that we stay healthy, that our physiology stays healthy. In fact, there's a cancer doctor, and he's famous, so some of you may know about him. His name is Dr. David Siegel. He conducted research on why some of his cancer patients survived and others did not. And the only thing his survival patients did differently from the other cancer patients was they talked with each other, they had support from each other, and that sharing that they were willing to do created changes in their physiology that led to positive results. Changed, as Fillmore said, it changed the atoms in their system, in their physiology, and affected their health to the degree that they were able to heal from the cancer. He cites numerous studies showing that people with many social ties live longer than those who are not connected to other human beings. He said that married cancer patients survive longer than unmarried cancer patients do. And it's because they have support and they share. There's a famous poem by Dunn. It was written in the 17th century, and this is going to sound a little Old English to you, but you all know this poem, but this is the Old English version in which he wrote it, and it says, "No man is an island entire of itself." You've all heard that. No man is an island. Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main. If one clod be washed away by the sea, Europe is less, as well as if the whole cliff were washed away, as well as any manner of thy friends or thine own were taken from us. Any man's death diminishes me, this is his quote, because I am involved in mankind, and therefore never send to know for whom the bell tolls, for it tolls for thee. So I thought at first that was a typo, and then I read it again. Never send to know for whom the bell tolls, for it tolls for thee. And what he's saying is, don't send me somebody else to make this better. The bell tolls for you. So that's just, I think, a very, very interesting poem, and it has lasted over the centuries, because he's saying that we are the solution to our problems. We don't need somebody else's bell to toll. We're the solution to our problems. It's our job to realize that we need each other, and at the same time that we need each other to shore each other up, not to have you shore me up and me not be reciprocal. It makes sense? So we're here for one another. And that's a decision we have to make. The title of my talk this morning is Peace is a Choice. It's a choice we make. And that decision to make that choice and to make that change has to come from inside of us. And we're the key, not only to our good health, but to our good psyche and to our ability to weather the storms. And we're having some storms right now. But choosing the peace within ourselves, no matter what appears to be wrong out there, will definitely cause a different result for us. And I thought when I was writing this about the story of Job, you probably all know the story of Job, but just for someone who may not, Job is a whole book in the Old Testament, and it's about a man who was very wealthy. He had, they exaggerate, I guess, I don't know, maybe they don't. But they said something like he had 2,000 camels and 2,000 donkeys and I don't know how many wives and I don't know how many sons. And, he was a very, very, very wealthy man. And he was, according to this story, this was a fable now, but it's interesting. The story goes, and the story was told, that everybody thought that Job was favored by God because he was so wealthy and he had so much wealth and so much good in his life, that Satan came to God and said, the reason that that Job is your favorite is that he loves you, but I promise you, if you take all this stuff away from him, he's not going to love you anymore. He won't love you like he does now. And so God said, I don't believe that. And so they made a bet. And God made this bet with Satan, that Satan could take everything away from Job, and he believed that Job would still love him and be a godly man. So, in the story, this is what happens. Everything gets taken away from Job. He loses, his sons all died, his daughters all died, the cattle, the camels, the donkeys all died. He had nothing left. Nothing was left. Everything got destroyed. And he had 3 friends, and in the story, and I didn't try to go into that or we'd be here till noon, but the 3 friends in the story had a metaphysical meaning, each one of them. Were pointing out something different to him about how he could just curse God and don't worry about it because, you know, look what happened to you. And so they were not giving him very good advice, but they came and tried to talk him into just forgetting about all his losses and not worrying about being worshiping God anymore. And then, as if everything else hadn't gone wrong in his life, he got a terrible skin disease. He was really, really in bad shape. And so his wife finally told him, just curse God and die. That's what she told him to do. She didn't want to be around his skin, I guess, I don't know. But anyway, that was what she told him to do, was to curse God and die. But through all of these people who were telling Job to curse God and die, he said, no, I'm not going to do that. I believe that this is all going to work out, and I'm going to be fine. And he was tempted, and it tells you in the story he was tempted, but then he would always say no, that he was going to hold to the love that he had for God, and that would win out. So Satan loses the bet, because Job never wavers from his love of God, even though he's in dire straits. And so because of that, God blesses him again. Now he has 10,000 camels and 10,000 cattle and 10,000 donkeys and more houses than before. And he's got new sons and daughters. And so, of course, that's the end of the story, and that's the moral to the story. But I had to, you know, that story had a moral, and the moral was, we can't blame anybody else. He was not blaming God. He was just saying, this is how it goes. And so there's no blame, and I'm going to hang in there, and I'm going to have the same kind of faith and the same kind of love for God. And so the story is, love wins out. You know, you never stop loving God, and so love wins out. And so it's a very interesting little story, but it has the moral to that. So I thought about it, and he just chose to be peaceful through it all. He chose to be a believer in God's love, and that God could be trusted, and that everything would turn out all right, even through all of that. And in fact, in the end, it did. So he had ignored all of the naysayers and all of the people who wanted to try to lead him down that wrong path. He refused to do that, and he refused to turn away from love. And you know, I always use God and love as synonymous. To me, the word God is the same as love. It's the same high vibration. And so he was refusing to turn away from the love that he had been given all that time. And he declared that all would be well and all would turn out well. So it's kind of what we're being called to do now. Things are not a whole lot of fun, not only just in our country, but in the world right now. All the things that are happening are not something we've been accustomed to. Certainly not something we've been accustomed to putting up with and dealing with for 2 years, and looking ahead and not knowing if it's 2 more years, because we don't know what lies ahead. So this is new for us. We're being asked to move our hands and feet and take action where it's ours to do, to not be in despair, to remain peaceful and grateful in our spirit for all the good that we already have in our life. And as you know what I always say, all the good, it's on its way to us now. This was kind of what Job did. He had the faith that the good would be on its way to him no matter what, and it was. This is our vibration. This is our quantum field. It's what we put out there from in here out that comes back to us, so we have to pay attention to what we're putting out into that quantum field. And of course, in times like these, it's more difficult, I think, for us to be aware and paying attention to all of our thoughts and all of the ways that we need to be vibrating that love and that trust inside of us, even though it doesn't look like there's any reason to when we look out here. So even though we've lost loved ones, even though some people have lost jobs, nothing about our lifestyle looks like we thought it would. I came down here 4 years ago. I never thought I'd still be where we are in this little church 4 years later, because we're still trying to build it and put it back together. But it's not about that. It's about how do I want to deal with it while I'm here? How do I want to deal with what has come our way that we don't understand and really have to kind of roll with the punches sometime, especially when we don't know what the future holds. And that peace inside of this, it's something you choose to do. You choose to think about. You choose to have as a thought, I'm going to keep my peace. I'm going to keep that feeling of calm in me. It's going to help the people around me. It's going to help what's going on in my life. It's going to help my health. It's not easy to do. And I'm not suggesting that we gloss over the problems or the issues or the pain that we've felt or the pain that we're dealing with. I'm not suggesting that we ignore it. I'm saying that when our world is turned upside down, we can be deliberate to choose how we choose to deal with the experience. And peace inside of you is how we can deal with the chaos and the upheaval of our world. So the question is, how will we know what it takes to achieve inner peace, and how will we know when we have achieved inner peace? So I've got an answer for that. I don't know where I got this, but I got it a long time ago, and it's very succinct about how individually we can have that deliberate act of inner peace. We think and act deliberately and consciously rather than from fears based on past experiences or what others say. We don't have to live in the past. We don't have to ignore what other people say. We be deliberate about what it is we are dealing with. One of the symptoms of inner peace is an unmistakable ability to enjoy each moment. An unmistakable ability to enjoy each moment. A loss of interest in judging others. We lose interest in making other people wrong. It's not ours to judge. Another symptom of inner peace is a loss of interest in judging ourselves. How many of you do that? A loss of interest in conflict. Sometimes we just can't wait to get in conflict with somebody because they're doing it wrong. When we have inner peace, we've let that go. We know one of our symptoms of inner peace is when we don't feel like we have to be in conflict with everybody about everything. Another symptom of inner peace is a loss of interest in interpreting the actions of others. That seems like a futile thing for me anyway. How do I know what somebody else's motives are? Another symptom of inner peace is a loss of the ability to worry. How many of you worry? Yeah. When you have inner peace, you know you got inner peace when you don't have any desire or any ability to worry anymore. Just like Job, it's gonna all be all right. I have no idea how, but it's gonna be okay. That's hard for us humans. Another symptom of inner peace is frequent, overwhelming episodes of appreciation. Frequent, overwhelming episodes of appreciation. Contented feelings of connectedness with others and nature. Frequent attacks of smiling through your heart. Increasing susceptibility to kindness offered and the uncontrollable urge to reciprocate. Increasing susceptibility to kindness offered and the uncontrollable urge to reciprocate. I love that. An increasing tendency to allow things to unfold rather than resisting or manipulating. I think this is something we humans do a lot. We decide we're going to fix it. We're going to manipulate things. We're going to make it happen when we want it to happen, rather than just having that a tendency to allow, because we don't always know what the right time for the right thing to develop is. And again, that's part of the quantum field. You know, we can put it out there in the quantum field, but when it takes form, it's not up to us, and it's usually not ever in our time frame. So my wish for you today is that peace is a part not only of this holiday season that we are entering, but that it becomes a part of your life. That it becomes a way of you thinking differently about life and allowing that peace inside of you to look at what's going on outside of you and outside of all of us with a totally different view, so that you are not adversely affected, and that you may have peace and love and abundance, because abundance comes in all forms. Abundance can be money, but it's all the good in our lives at all times. So let's take this now into a moment of contemplation and meditation, and just see perhaps the places in our life where we would like to do things differently. So take a few deep breaths. Lay things aside if that's comfortable for you. Close your eyes if that's comfortable for you. And I would just like to have you connect with your heart. Feel that smile that comes through your heart. That smile that's always there, never leaves us. Sometimes we forget to engage it, but it's always there. Our heart is the love. Our heart is the kindness. Our heart is the seed of our appreciation. And so imagine your thoughts and your energy going to your heart right now. Just feel it. Feel your heart. That heart that beats is a mystery. Medicine does not know much about our heart. We know we can't live once it stops beating. And yet we can live with many, many other parts of our body not working. We know intuitively that the goodness and the kindness and the love and all of those wonderful feelings that make us feel wonderful are connected to the heart in poetry and in every word we speak and have for generations. Our heart is that place where the love resides. And I believe it's where the peace resides. We move into that heart space. It shifts everything. It shifts our energy and our blood pressure. It changes who we are. And so when we want to move into that space where peace comes from within us, we do that from that space of our heart. It's available at any time and at all times. We can go to our heart, even in conflict, even in judging others. It's just a matter of choosing where we want to be in our thinking and in our actions. So I invite you now to just, in the silence for a little while, go to your heart and see what it is that your heart's telling you. See what it is that it can give to you to give to the world. This is something you can do at any time. Drop into that place in your heart to connect with your own goodness, your own kindness, your own love, your own peace. So we move into this second week of Advent and into this time of Christmas, a time of love. And we make a vow to ourselves that I choose peace. I choose peace in all moments, at all times. No matter what is going on in the hurry, in the bustle of Christmas, I choose peace. And so it is.